faster. It doesn't matter if you're a student, a leader, a parent, or just trying to get through the day without fumbling your words. The truth is, the way you think shapes what you say, and what you say shapes everything. Your confidence, your career, your relationships, and your influence. One great sentence can land you the job. One sharp answer can shift the whole room. One clear thought, spoken at the right moment, can open doors that talent and hard work alone never could. But what happens when your brain freezes and your mouth lags behind? You walk away from conversations kicking yourself, thinking, "Why didn't I say that?" Or "That could have gone better." You replay it over and over, and each time the regret grows a little louder. This audiobook exists to end that, because talking fast doesn't mean rushing. It means being ready. Thinking smart doesn't mean being a genius. It means knowing how to organize your thoughts so they work for you, not against you. By the time you finish the whole book, you'll know how to think smart and talk fast so that people will want to hear you again. Chapter 1. Use structure to speak clearly. If you don't have structure, people won't understand you. It doesn't matter how smart your ideas are. If you talk in a messy way, jumping around, rambling, or repeating yourself, your message won't land. The listener gets tired. Their brain switches off, and they stop listening, even if they're smiling and nodding. That's the truth about how real conversations work. You don't always get a second chance to explain yourself. You either say it clearly the first time, or you lose the moment. Matt Abrahams, a communication expert and lecturer at Stanford Graduate School of Business, says, "Structure helps us feel confident and helps our audience stay focused." In his best-selling book, Think Faster, Talk Smarter, he explains that having a simple structure makes it easier for your brain to organize thoughts, especially when you're nervous or under pressure. You speak better when you know where your message is going, and people listen better when they know what to expect. This isn't just theory. Research shows that people remember structured information much better than random facts. A study from the National Library of Medicine found that listeners remembered 40% more of what they heard when the speaker used a clear structure. That's a big deal. It means you can become more memorable and more persuasive, not by adding new ideas, but simply by organizing the ideas you already have. So what is structure exactly? It's a clear shape your message follows, like a recipe or a map. It gives your brain a path to walk. It stops you from getting lost in your own words. It helps your listener keep up with you, and the best part is, you don't need to be a great speaker to use it. You just need to use the right pattern. In this chapter, you'll learn 2 simple structures you can use anytime you need to speak clearly. Problem, solution, benefit, and what. So what? Now what? Let's start with the first one. Problem, solution. Benefit is used everywhere by public speakers, teachers, business leaders, and even marketers. Why? Because it's how our brains naturally think. We notice a problem we want to fix. Then we want to know what's in it for us. Here's how to use it. First, state the problem. What's going wrong? What needs to change? Then offer the solution. What's your idea to fix it? And finally, explain the benefit. Why will this make life better? Let's say you want your team to stop using 5 different apps to manage one project. You could say, right now we're wasting time jumping between email, Slack, Trello, and Google Docs. That's the problem. The solution is to switch to Notion, where we can manage everything in one place. The benefit is we'll save hours every week and make fewer mistakes. That's it. Clear, short, and effective. You didn't have to sound fancy, you just had to guide the listener through the logic. Now let's look at the second structure. What? So what? Now what? This one is perfect when you need to explain something quickly. It's used in education, leadership, and even military briefings because it gets to the point without skipping important meaning. Here's how to use it. First, say what happened or what you're talking about. Then explain why it matters or what the impact is. Finally, say what should happen next. Imagine you're giving a project update and someone asks, "What's going on with the app launch?" You could say, "What? We had to delay the launch by 1 week. So what? Our testing found a bug that could crash the app for new users. Now what? The tech team is fixing it now, and we'll launch next Monday."
You didn't waste time. You gave them facts, meaning, and next steps. That's what structure does. It helps you sound calm, clear, and confident, even under pressure.
Simon Sinek, author of Start With Why, explains that people don't just buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Structure helps you show the why in everything you say. It connects facts to meaning. It gives your message life. And here's something important to know. Structure reduces anxiety. When your brain is nervous, it moves fast. You start overthinking. You lose your place. But when you speak using a pattern like problem, solution, benefit, or what? So what? Now what? You don't have to figure out what to say next. You already know. That calms your nerves and helps you focus. Think faster, talk smarter. Abrahams calls this cognitive offloading. You're letting the structure carry part of the mental load. This is especially important in fast-moving situations like job interviews, classroom discussions, or difficult conversations at work. Instead of feeling like you have to perform, you simply follow the structure. It becomes your safety net. It gives your brain breathing room. Let's take it even deeper. When you use structure, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping your listener. According to cognitive psychology studies, the human brain constantly looks for patterns to reduce decision fatigue. That means when someone hears you speak in a structured way, they don't feel overwhelmed, they follow you naturally. They feel like you're leading them somewhere, and that creates trust. You become the kind of person people want to listen to, not just because of your content, but because of your clarity. Want a fun way to practice? Try selling something simple, like a slinky toy, using both structures. With problem, solution, benefit, you might say, "Kids today are stuck to screens all day." That's the problem. The solution is a slinky, a toy that gets them moving, curious, and engaged. The benefit is they play and learn without needing a phone or tablet. It's not long, it's not fancy, but it's clear. It shows the need, the answer, and the reward. With what? So what? Now what? You could say, what? A slinky is a spring that walks downstairs. So what? It teaches motion, balance, and cause and effect, all while being fun. Now what? Give one to a kid and watch them explore without a screen. Again, clear and direct. Your words have structure, and because of that, they have strength. Structure turns any message into something that works. It helps you answer tough questions, share ideas, and explain problems without freezing or rambling. Whether you're talking to your boss, your friend, your class, or your team, structure makes you sound like a thinker, not a talker. So here's your challenge. Use one of these structures today. Try it in a meeting, a conversation, or even a message. You don't need to announce it. Just pick the pattern. Start with a problem and offer a solution with a benefit, or state what happened, explain why it matters, and say what should happen next. You'll notice a shift right away. People will follow you more closely. They'll respond faster, and you'll feel more in control of your own message. This is the first step toward thinking smart and talking fast. Not by talking more, but by structuring better. You don't need to sound perfect. You just need to make sense, and structure is how you do it. Every time. Chapter 2. Managing anxiety. If you want to speak clearly, you need to feel calm enough to think. That's why before we talk about performance, persuasion, or power, we need to talk about anxiety, because no structure, no technique, no clever word choice will work if your brain is frozen and your breath is stuck. The truth is, even the smartest people in the world get nervous. In fact, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, nearly 73% of people report fear of public speaking. That's more than the fear of death. Yes, more people are afraid of giving a speech than dying. But here's the secret. It's not about removing anxiety, it's about managing it. Matt Abrahams says it clearly in Think Faster, Talk Smarter. Anxiety is not the enemy. Avoiding it is. You don't need to fight it. You need to learn how to move through it. Because anxiety isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It shows up when something matters. That's not weakness. That's human. The goal isn't to feel nothing. The goal is to feel the nerves and still speak anyway. And the way we do that starts with a simple but powerful shift in mindset. First, greet your anxiety. Don't try to crush it. Don't pretend it's not there. That only makes it louder. Instead, pause and acknowledge it. Say to yourself, "Hey, I see you. You're here. That's okay." Take a slow, steady breath. Not a deep, dramatic inhale, but a calm, gentle one. In through your nose. Hold for a moment, out through your mouth. Science backs this up. Studies from Harvard and Yale show that when we slow our breathing, especially the exhale, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of the brain responsible for calm. In short, breathing right helps your body believe you're safe. Then remember this: anxiety helps us. It sharpens attention. It prepares your body to focus. It's the same system that kicks in before athletes compete or actors step on stage. The problem isn't the anxiety, it's what we do with it. Abrahams reminds us that we don't want to eliminate anxiety, we want to use it as fuel. So don't shut it out, welcome it in. Make it work for you. Next, reframe the moment as a conversation. This step changes everything. Most of us feel anxious because we treat every speaking moment like a performance, like we're on stage being judged. But here's the truth: presenting is not performing, it's connecting. You're not putting on a show, you're starting a conversation. So shift your mindset. Instead of thinking, "How do I impress them?" ask, "How do I include them?" One great way to do this is to start with a question. Ask something simple and engaging, like, "Has anyone here ever felt stuck trying to explain an idea?" Or quick show of hands, "Who's ever had their mind go blank in a meeting?" When you do this, something powerful happens. You stop being the performer. You become a partner. You invite the audience in. You stop talking at people and start speaking with them. Use inclusive language too. Words like "we," "let's," and "together" create a sense of shared space. You're not alone on a stage. You're all in this moment together. That reduces pressure and boosts connection. Psychologists call this social grounding. When we feel like we're part of a group, we perform better and think more clearly. Finally, bring yourself back to the present moment. Anxiety pulls us into the future. It tells us stories like, "What if I mess up? What if they hate it? What if I forget what to say?" Those thoughts aren't real. They're predictions, and they haven't happened. That means you can let them go. To do that, try grounding yourself physically. Step outside the building before your talk. Feel the air. Look at the sky. Notice your steps, or try counting backwards from 30 in your mind. Slowly, focus on each number. These small acts shift your brain out of what if and into what is. That's where your power lives, in the present, not in the panic of the future. You can also repeat a quiet phrase to yourself. Something simple like, "I'm here, I'm ready, I've got this." When you say that while breathing slowly, you teach your nervous system to slow down with your words. So here's what we've learned. Don't push anxiety away. Greet it. Accept it. Use your breath to bring calm. Use questions to build connection. Use presence to silence panic. You're not giving a performance. You're having a moment of meaning. And like all meaningful moments, a little adrenaline is normal. It means you care. It means you're alive. Now your challenge. Before your next talk, big or small, try all 3 steps. First, breathe and greet your anxiety. Second, reframe the talk as a conversation. Start with a question. Third, take yourself out of the future and into the now. Walk, count, look around, get grounded. You don't need to be fearless to speak well. You just need to be present. Because great speakers aren't the ones who feel nothing. They're the ones who've learned how to move forward anyway, with their heart racing and their message clear. And now, so can you. Chapter 3. Mess up, power up, owning your mistakes in real time. If you're going to speak often, you're going to mess up. But it is not actually a problem at all. Research from the Journal of Nonverbal Behavior shows that people don't judge us as harshly for our mistakes as we think. In fact, when we own up to a mistake with confidence and humility, we often build more trust, not less. It's called the pratfall effect. A 1966 study by psychologist Elliot Aronson found that people who were seen as competent actually became more likable when they made a small blunder, like spilling coffee, because it made them seem human and relatable. The same thing applies when you speak. If you stumble and handle it well, people feel closer to you, they root for you. Matt Abrahams in Think Faster, Talk Smarter says people don't expect perfection, they expect presence. If you stay present when things go wrong, you earn more respect than someone who pretends nothing happened. That means the fastest way to sound smart again after a slip-up is not to hide or pretend, it's to own it out loud. Let's say you mispronounce a word in a presentation. Instead of freezing or awkwardly correcting yourself 5 times, just smile and say, "Apparently my mouth is trying to go faster than my brain today. Let me try that again." Then continue. That quick self-awareness shows confidence. It tells the room you're in control, even when things aren't perfect. Or let's say you share the wrong statistic. You could say, "Actually, I mixed up the numbers." Good catch. The accurate figure is 47%, not 74. Notice what happens. People don't get annoyed. They appreciate the honesty. They trust you more because you showed you care about getting it right, not pretending to always be right. In media training and public speaking workshops, professionals are taught the acknowledge and advance technique. Acknowledge the mistake, then move forward. Don't dwell, don't rewind, don't spiral. Just name it, fix it, and keep going. This is especially important in live communication, like interviews, presentations, or meetings, where time and flow matter more than perfection. Famous communicators do this all the time. President Barack Obama once referred to Austrian as a language. It's not. But instead of letting it define the moment, he moved on. When Steve Jobs launched the iPhone in 2007, the clicker stopped working mid-presentation. He paused, smiled, and said, "Well, I guess this is why we rehearse." The crowd laughed and the moment became more memorable, not less. There's also something powerful that happens inside you when you own a mistake. It frees your brain. Instead of using mental energy to cover up or panic, You get to redirect that energy into reconnecting with your message. And science backs this up. A study from the University of Michigan found that people who practiced self-compassion after making a public mistake recovered twice as fast and performed better in follow-up tasks than those who shamed themselves or tried to hide it. Here's another trick. Use humor carefully and kindly. If the mistake is small and the audience is friendly, humor can turn an awkward moment into a memorable one. But the key is lightness, not sarcasm. Don't make jokes at anyone else's expense. And don't try too hard. Just be human. A simple, "Well, that wasn't in the script," or "That's what I get for skipping breakfast," can be enough to diffuse tension and reset the room. So, what does this all mean for you? It means you no longer have to be afraid of messing up when you speak. It means your power doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from being real, grounded, and resilient. The people listening to you aren't looking for a robot. They're looking for someone who can stay steady under pressure. Someone who can recover fast. Someone they can trust. So here's your challenge. Next time you stumble, even in casual conversation, pause. Take a breath. Smile. If it feels natural, name it. Fix it. Move on. Practice saying things like, "Let me rephrase that," or "Oops, that's not what I meant." Let those words become part of your speaker's toolkit. They don't make you look weak. They make you look sharp and self-aware. Because mistakes are not the opposite of good speaking. They're part of it. What matters is how you bounce back, and when you do it well, you don't lose the audience. You win them over. Every slip is a chance to show strength, and the faster you learn to own the moment, the faster your confidence grows. In speaking as in life, perfection is a myth. But recovery, that's a skill. And now it's yours. Chapter 4. The Art of Asking Questions. If you want to think smarter and speak faster, you need to stop focusing only on what to say and start learning what to ask. Because in communication, power doesn't always come from having the perfect answer. It comes from asking the right question. A well-timed question can open a stuck conversation, change a decision, or make people think in a way they hadn't before. It shows you're not just listening, you're thinking. That kind of curiosity is not weakness, it's leadership. Matt Abrahams, Stanford lecturer and author of Think Faster, Talk Smarter, explains it like this. Questions do more than gather information. They give you space, build trust, and help you slow down so you can think clearly. When you ask a question, you're not putting pressure on yourself to perform. You're buying time. You're giving the other person a chance to engage. You're creating a two-way interaction instead of a one-way performance. That matters a lot, especially in high-pressure situations like meetings, interviews, negotiations, or difficult conversations. You don't need to be the one with all the answers. You just need to be the one with the right question. There's even science behind it. According to a 2017 study published in Harvard Business Review, people who ask more questions are perceived as more likable, more competent, and more emotionally intelligent. The same study showed that follow-up questions, in particular, asking something that builds off what someone just said, can significantly improve how connected and respected the speaker is perceived to be. In short, questions build relationships, and relationships build influence. But here's what most people miss. Not all questions are equal. Some questions move the room forward. Others just fill time. A good question is thoughtful, focused, and simple. It's not about sounding clever. It's about being real. It should reflect genuine interest in the topic, the people, or the problem, and it should do one of three things: clarify, challenge, or invite deeper thinking. In communication training, this is sometimes called the 3 C's of smart questioning, clarify, challenge, and connect. Clarifying questions help people understand what's really being said. Can you explain what success looks like in this project? What do we mean when we say engagement? These questions make sure everyone is speaking the same language. Challenging questions push the conversation forward. Is this really the best use of our time? What problem are we actually trying to solve here? These questions help people zoom out and reassess, and connecting questions build understanding between people. How did you come to that decision? What's your biggest concern about this change? These questions make space for stories, emotions, and deeper meaning. One of the most powerful types of questions is what Matt Abrahams calls curiosity-based questions. These are open-ended, non-threatening, and focused on learning. He explains that these kinds of questions lower defensiveness and increase participation, especially in group settings. Instead of saying, "Why didn't this work?" which can sound like blame, you ask, "What do we think happened here?" It's a small shift, but a meaningful one. The goal is not to trap someone, it's to explore together. Let's look at some real examples. Imagine you're in a team meeting where everyone is nodding in agreement about a plan that feels rushed. Instead of staying quiet or just going along with it, you might ask, "What's one thing we haven't considered yet?" That's not confrontational, it's helpful. It invites the group to pause and reflect without accusing anyone of missing something. Or imagine you're interviewing for a job, and the interviewer asks, "Do you have any questions for us?" Instead of asking something basic like, "What's the team culture like?" you ask, "What would success look like in this role in the first 6 months?" That question not only gives you valuable insight, it shows that you're focused, serious, and already thinking ahead. Now let's talk about how questions help you, the speaker. Most people get nervous because they think they need to speak non-stop or always have the right answer. But when you ask a question, you shift the pressure. You move from having to perform to guiding a conversation. That's a huge psychological win. It gives you breathing room, and neurologically it calms the part of the brain responsible for stress. This is backed up by research from the American Psychological Association, which shows that asking questions during stressful social interactions reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and increases a sense of control. Questions also buy you time. In fast conversations, your brain might struggle to find the right words quickly. Asking a thoughtful question gives you a few seconds to pause and think without awkward silence. For example, if someone asks you something unexpected and you need a moment, you could say, "That's an interesting point. Can I ask what's the main outcome you're hoping for here?" That short question does two things. It gives you more context and it gives you time to gather your thoughts. You're not avoiding the conversation. You're directing it with intention. This is why leaders ask so many questions. Think about the best leaders you've ever seen, whether in business, politics, or even in the classroom. They don't just speak in long monologues. They ask things like, "How do you see it?" or "What do you need to succeed?" or "What would you do if you were in my place?" These questions build trust, show humility, and invite collaboration. And that's why people follow them. Another benefit of asking smart questions is that they create space for unexpected insight. In his book, A More Beautiful Question, Warren Berger explains that innovation often starts not with a brilliant idea, but with a bold question. He writes, "The most creative, successful people tend to be expert questioners. They show curiosity. They pursue big questions, and they build companies and careers by asking, 'What if?'" Steve Jobs famously asked, "Why does the computer need a fan?" That question led to Apple's revolutionary fanless design. Elon Musk has said that his engineering approach is based on first principles thinking, which always starts by asking, "What are we sure of? What must be true?" What can we eliminate? In other words, asking the right question doesn't just change a conversation, it can change the future. So how do you practice the art of asking better questions? First, slow down. Questions come from paying attention. If you're always focused on what you're going to say next, you'll miss the chance to ask something meaningful. Listen with curiosity, not just politeness. Second, ask yourself, what's really going on? Try to look one level deeper. If someone says we're behind schedule, the obvious question is why. But the better question might be, what would need to change for us to catch up without losing quality? Third, don't be afraid of silence. Sometimes you'll ask a question and the room will pause. That's okay. Give people time to think. Silence is not a mistake. It's a signal that the question mattered. And fourth, reflect on your own patterns. Do you tend to only ask safe questions? Do you wait until the end of a conversation to speak up? Start bringing your curiosity forward earlier. Make your voice part of the shaping, not just the closing. Here's a list of strong, simple, thought-shifting questions you can practice with in any setting. What outcome are we actually aiming for? What's the real challenge here? What would this look like if it were easier? What's the cost of doing nothing? What are we assuming, and is it true? What's the risk we haven't named yet? What does success mean to us really? Use them in meetings. Use them in interviews. Use them in personal conversations. You don't have to ask all the time. Just be the person who asks at the right time. That's how you shift from passive to powerful. So here's your challenge. In your next meaningful conversation, at work, in school, at home, ask one question that goes deeper than usual. Not a scripted one, a curious one. Notice what happens. Notice how people respond, and notice how you feel when you're not scrambling to say something impressive, but instead guiding the room with clarity. Because fast thinking isn't just about reacting quickly, it's about responding with focus. And asking the right question is often the fastest way to take control of the moment. You don't need to talk more, you need to ask better. That's the quiet skill of smart communicators, and now it's yours. Chapter 5. Talk like a movie, borrowing cinematic tricks for real-life drama. If your words don't create an experience, people will forget them. That's a hard truth. You could have the best idea in the world, but if it doesn't land in the heart or stick in the mind, it won't move people. And here's why. Your brain is wired for story, not slides. You remember scenes, emotions, characters, and turning points. That's what a movie gives you, and that's what your communication needs. When you talk like a movie, you turn everyday words into moments people remember. According to research by cognitive psychologist Jerome Bruner, facts are 22 times more likely to be remembered if they are embedded in a story. Why? Because story activates more of the brain, language, emotion, vision, memory, even motor function. When you tell a story or speak in a story-like rhythm, your listener's brain starts to sync with yours. It's called neural coupling. That's what makes great communication feel so powerful. It's literally brain to brain, not just mouth to ear. Think about the last movie that made you feel something. It probably didn't do it with just facts. It used timing, contrast, suspense, rhythm, and emotion. These aren't just for Hollywood. They work in meetings, interviews, presentations, even casual conversations. Let's break down some of these cinematic tools and how you can use them. One of the most powerful tricks from the world of film is starting with the ending. In storytelling, this is called in media res, or sometimes a cold open. When a story begins at a high moment and later explains how we got there. When you open your communication with the final outcome, it grabs attention. In your next meeting, don't begin with background. Start with impact. Say the result first. For example, we reduced customer complaints by 40% last quarter, and here's what we changed. That sentence pulls people in because it offers a result and promises a journey. Another great tool is the use of contrast. Movies use this all the time. They show rich versus poor, quiet versus loud, hope versus despair. Contrast creates emotion and surprise. In speaking, contrast makes your message sharp. Instead of saying, "We improved performance," say, "We used to struggle with delays. Now we're delivering projects 2 weeks early." That shift from then to now makes people feel the difference. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman's peak end rule also shows us that people remember 2 parts of any experience: the most intense moment and the final moment. That means if you want to leave an impression, you need a strong middle and a strong finish. Don't end your talk with any questions. End with something powerful. A quote, a final insight, a bold idea. Give people something to take away. Pausing is another powerful movie trick. In film, directors use silence to build tension. Great speakers do too. A pause before your key point lets the audience catch up. It adds weight. Most people rush when they speak under pressure, but slowing down at the right moment can actually make you sound smarter. Harvard research shows that speakers who vary their pace and pause before key ideas are rated as more competent and trustworthy. Let's talk about scene setting, another movie tactic that's easy to borrow. Don't just say facts. Paint a picture. Instead of, "We had a problem with the website," say, "On Monday morning, at exactly 9:01 a.m. 400 users hit a blank screen." Not an error message, just white space. And we had no clue why. Now people are in the moment with you. That's what makes them care. When they can see it, they believe it. And here's a tool called the callback, used in both comedy and drama. A callback is when you bring back something from earlier in your talk near the end. It creates closure. Let's say you opened your talk with a story about your first job. Near the end, you say, "When I walked into that office on my first day, I had no clue what I was doing. But now, leading this team, I carry that same beginner mindset with a little more wisdom." That kind of full circle moment hits hard because it connects the journey. You can also use dialogue, like screenwriters do. Don't just report what happened. Share what someone actually said. Instead of "My client was unhappy," try "She looked me straight in the eye and said, I expected better." That kind of moment puts your listener in the room. It makes the story come alive. According to researchers at Princeton University, stories that include emotion and dialogue produce more activity in the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, which leads to higher recall and empathy. Let's not forget repetition. Not boring repetition, but rhythmic repetition. Think of Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream." Think of Steve Jobs saying, "One more thing." Movies repeat key lines because they become anchors. In your own speaking, try repeating one phrase a few times. It could be as simple as, "This is the moment," or "We've been here before, but not like this." These anchor lines become emotional touch points. They help your message land. Another tool that comes from screenwriting is the rule of 3. In movies and speeches, 3 beats feel complete. Not 1, not 2, 3. It's why we say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. In speaking, structure your examples or arguments in 3s. We listen to our customers, we redesigned the experience, and we launched ahead of schedule. That feels full and final. Let's look at a few real-life examples. When Brené Brown gives a TED Talk, she uses pauses, stories, callbacks, and visuals. She doesn't just talk about vulnerability. She shows you how it feels. When Barack Obama speaks, he often opens with a story, slows down before his point, and builds to a rhythm. And when Simon Sinek explains leadership, he uses "start with why" as a frame, a message repeated, like a movie line. These speakers borrow cinematic tools, and their messages last. You don't need to be dramatic to use these tools. You just need to be deliberate. Ask yourself before you speak, where is my pause? Where is my punchline? Where's my picture? Where's my ending? Think like a filmmaker. Craft the scene. Feel the rhythm. And then speak it like you mean it. Let's do a quick recap of movie tools you can use in your next conversation or presentation. Start with the ending. Use contrast. Build suspense with a pause. Paint scenes with specific details. Call back to an earlier story or point. Use real dialogue. Anchor your talk with a repeatable phrase. Structure in threes. And end strong, not soft. When you speak like this, you're not acting, you're activating, you're not performing, you're connecting. That's what movies do. And now, that's what you can do too. So, the next time you talk, don't just share information. Create a scene. Lead them through the story. Speak your message like it's a moment that matters, because it is. When you talk like a movie, they remember you like a story. Chapter 6, The Power Exit, How to End Strong and Be Remembered. If your ending is weak, everything you said before it slowly fades away. People won't remember your clever intro, your sharp data, or even your best story if the last thing you say is flat. That's why ending strong isn't just about sounding impressive, it's about being remembered. According to Daniel Kahneman's peak end rule, people judge experiences mostly by how they felt at the peak and how it ended. That applies not just to vacations or customer service, but to every meeting, pitch, talk, or conversation you have. If you want people to think of you as clear, smart, and powerful, then the last thing you say matters most. Think about some of the most famous speeches in history. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't end with any questions. He ended with "free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last." Steve Jobs didn't close with a slide full of bullet points. He ended with the phrase, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." These lines stuck because they were crafted to echo. They left people with a final feeling, a final thought, and that's what lingered. You can do the same, even in everyday conversations. In Matt Abraham's Think Faster, Talk Smarter, he emphasizes that your closing lines are your final chance to shape how people think about you. Whether it's a client presentation or a team huddle, your exit line signals completion and creates momentum. It tells people what to remember and what to do next. Abrahams notes that many people lose the room in their last minute because they trail off, get vague, or switch to filler like "that's all" or "I guess that's it." That's not a close, that's a fade. The truth is, most people don't plan their ending. They prepare the beginning, maybe the middle, but when it comes to the close, they either rush or freeze. That's a mistake. Your ending should be your most intentional moment. You should know your final line before you even begin. Think of it like landing a plane. No one wants a bumpy or uncertain landing. They want a strong, smooth finish that makes them feel safe and satisfied. Your audience is the same. So how do you craft a powerful exit? Start by asking yourself, what do I want people to remember? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? Your ending should touch at least one of these three goals. If you're presenting data, end with what the data means. If you're telling a story, end with the insight it taught you. If you're pitching an idea, end with a bold statement or clear next step. One effective technique is the callback, ending with a reference to how you started. This brings your message full circle and gives it a polished feel. If you opened your talk with a question, end by answering it. If you began with a story, end by revisiting what that story taught you. This makes the audience feel like they've completed a journey with you. Another strong method is the echo line, repeating a key phrase from your message for emphasis. It helps lock your point in place. For example, if you were talking about building trust in teams, your final line could be, "And in every project, big or small, trust is the foundation we build on." Simple, repeatable, and strong. There's also the call to action, ending by telling people exactly what to do next. This is especially useful in business or persuasive communication. Don't just leave your audience inspired, give them direction. You might say, "If you only do one thing after this meeting, do this," or "Let's make the decision today, not next week." The clearer your ask, the more likely people are to follow. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine you're presenting a proposal to your leadership team. You've laid out the strategy, timeline, and budget. Don't end by saying, "So, yeah, that's my idea." Instead say, "This is our chance to lead the market, not just follow. Let's not wait. Let's move forward." That kind of ending doesn't just conclude, it inspires action. In training environments and workshops, research shows that learners retain information better when sessions end with a reflection or summary. According to a study published in the Journal of Educational Psychology, participants who were asked to reflect for just 5 minutes at the end of a learning session scored up to 23% higher on follow-up tests than those who weren't. That means if you're teaching, leading, or facilitating, your closing line can directly boost retention. Try ending with a question like, "What's one thing you'll apply from today?" or "What insight stood out most?" Here's another idea from broadcast journalism. The button. In TV and radio, a button is the final sentence that wraps the story. It's clean, concise, and emotionally satisfying. It gives the audience a moment of closure. You can build your own button lines. Think of final phrases like, "That's how we make the change," or "That's the kind of future we're building," or "And that's what leadership looks like." You'll notice these are not summaries, they're statements of meaning or direction, and they feel complete. Don't underestimate the power of tone either. Your energy at the end should match your message. If your talk was motivational, end with uplift. If it was serious, end with gravity. If it was practical, end with clarity. A mismatch in tone can undo your impact. If you tell a passionate story about resilience, don't close by saying, "Anyway, thanks for listening." That drop in energy deflates the message. Instead, match your close to your core emotion and hold the pause after it. That's when it sinks in. In the book Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath, the authors explain that memorable messages share certain traits: simplicity, unexpectedness, concreteness, credibility, emotion, and story. Your ending is your last shot to hit as many of those notes as you can. Be specific, not vague. Be clear, not clever. And make it emotional. People move when they feel something. Let's say you're delivering a speech about education reform. You might close like this: "I still remember the name of the teacher who believed in me when no one else did. And I think every child deserves at least one name like that. Let's be the reason they do." That line hits emotion, tells a story, and gives direction, all in one breath. The best closers also know when to stop. Don't ramble, don't undercut yourself. Say your final line and stop. Let the silence hold. One of the most powerful moments in public speaking is the pause after a strong ending. It's where the meaning sinks in. In music, it's called the rest. The silence that completes the phrase. In speaking, it's what gives your last words their power. Here's your challenge. Start writing your closings before your openings. When you prepare for your next meeting, talk, or message, write your last line first. Make it clear, make it confident, make it complete, then build everything else around it. That's how leaders talk. That's how speakers make impact. That's how your words stick. Remember this. People might forget your slides. They might forget your stats. But they will remember how you made them feel. And often that feeling comes from your final words. So end strong. End on purpose. End in a way that moves people. Because how you finish is how they'll remember you.